Well, I think the Prime Minister was making the point that this is an effort to defuse the crisis, and it really is a crisis now. You know, just behind me at the Arc de Triomphe looked like a war zone on Saturday with clouds of tear gas and buildings burning and cars burning all around. Nobody wants to see that again, or at least nobody in the government wants to see it again. So I think this is an effort to address, at least temporarily, the core issues that originally created this movement, mainly through Facebook appeals. It's a spontaneous movement, however, with no clear leadership, so it's hard to know who to talk to end this crisis.
But again, just the idea that it raises this severe of a reaction, the idea that you put it on ice for 6 months, maybe talk to the population, try and explain why you think this is so important. What are your thoughts in terms of whether that will be successful?
Well, there's a basic contradiction here. On the one hand, the French generally, a vast majority, are in favor of reducing greenhouse gases and protecting the environment. But another vast majority support these people who are protesting against the taxes that are being levied against them precisely with that goal. So it's hard to square that difference. And without any leaders to talk to who have any coherent program, it's very hard to figure out. The real problem here is that people who live in the countryside, who live outside these very well-served cities of France, are having a very, very hard time making ends meet. This is not a society built around the car, but their lives are built around cars. And when you start jacking up fuel prices over a period of a very short time by 25% or more, all of a sudden they are taking a major hit, and they just can't stand it anymore.
Yeah, that's why I wonder if this is something that's dead or something that has to change substantially, if it's something that needs to be rolled in over gradually over a long period of time.
Well, the government has to do a hell of a lot better job than it has been doing to explain that it really cares and is really concerned about those people that I'm talking about who are out in the countryside outside the big cities. Otherwise, it's going to face really a kind of a rural revolt. In a sense, that's what you already saw. Now, the violence, a lot of it was basically professional agitators and people who want to trash things. They're like soccer hooligans. But they had a lot of passive support from a lot of people in France who understand perfectly well that the government has been arrogant and aloof and really has not addressed the needs of people outside the cities.
Chris, you don't think it's kind of rich that the home of the Paris Climate Agreement is where the beautiful Arc de Triomphe has actually been damaged by these protesters? You don't think there's some irony there?
I think there's a tremendous irony here, and it's worse than an irony. It's kind of a trap for Macron. On the one hand, the President Macron is trying to present himself as a global leader, as the kind of the anti-Trump, in favor of the climate accord, sponsoring all kinds of talks about that. And at the same time, his people are in revolt because they don't want to pay the price for that climate accord. Right. Yeah, it's a rich irony.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, I've been hearing reports about restaurants obviously having trouble through these issues, hotels and other areas that have been hurt by this. What's the impact on the economy there just from these 3 weeks of protests?
Well, the impact on the economy, you haven't felt it tremendously yet, but you certainly will in the tourism sector. People are canceling en masse at luxury hotels and just generally hotels and Airbnbs in this city. Normally, Christmas would be a tremendous time of lots of people flooding into the city to see store windows, to shop, one thing and another. A lot of that has stopped. Not only foreign tourists, but a lot of French people who would normally come to the city to shop are not doing it. And you've got some really conspicuous damages right around here. You can't see it with this camera, but right across the street from me is one of the nicer restaurants in the region or in the area. And it was completely burned out. It's a shell now. Right below me is a cafe that normally caters to tourists, and that is, all the windows are smashed in. I'm going to go have lunch there after we talk, just for solidarity.
Yeah, you get a deal.